happy Friday to you all. A happy Friday to the world. It's Free Speech Friday, baby. We're starting a late one this week. It's been a busy week. If you haven't seen the new studio yet, welcome to the new studio. Welcome to the new digs. I hope you like it. Your boy is enjoying it very much. This one-handed pour over here is trash. And if you're new to Free Speech Friday, welcome. This is our Friday weekly show where we do a bit of a deep dive into all the shit that's going wrong, all the shit you're not supposed to talk about. And so far, we've been doing a great job. So far, we haven't gotten kicked off anything. So we'll just keep on pushing the limits. Keep on pushing the boundaries. If you're watching on YouTube, I appreciate your super chats. At the end of the show, we'll go through some super chats. I won't be able to read them all because there's a ton of them, but I will sort by highest to lowest, and I'll go down through all the ones of $20 and more, and then we'll start to skip through and try to get a bunch of the littler ones too, but just kind of at random. So that way a little bit of everybody can get heard from at the end of the show. But we're going to keep the show as the show during the show. Sometimes you'll see the chat on the screen. That's the people over on Twitch. That's the homies on Twitch. If you want to catch up with live streams all week long, we do research live on Twitch. We do investigations as we go live on Twitch. Sometimes they're awesome. Sometimes they're boring. Sometimes we learn things. Sometimes we get confused. It's a great time. And so if you haven't heard about that yet, that is always going all week long. And Cancel Ian Carroll over on Twitch. So thanks for all your support. Thanks for being here. Thanks for being hyped. Thanks for paying attention. Thanks for being interested in the truth and in speaking the truth and in supporting people that are speaking the truth. Because it's crazy out here. It is crazy out here. So we got, I'm not sure if the show's going to take a long time tonight. It might be a little bit more of a compact, heavy hitting show, unless I get carried away and start rambling. But just to run you through what we're going to cover tonight before we get into it all. Nick Fuentes missed his big shot, missed his big opportunity, seems to be missing his moment to shine. And I mean that in a number of ways. And we're going to get to that. We're going to talk about Stop Anti-Semitism and the Anti-Semite of the Year competition, the annual Anti-Semite of the Year competition. Yours truly was not even included in the competition this year. So we're going to have to step our game up for next year, I suppose. There's been some crazy new rumors and leaks and developments floating around on the internet. Everything from people that tend to have sources and tend to be in the know starting to talk about the fact that maybe Charlie's body is not actually in the ground yet. I haven't corroborated it, but we're going to talk about the sources that are speaking about it. Tim Pool's crashing out, and it is indicative of the larger divide in the community, in the journalism space. And it's all about Israel, as always. And there's some pretty interesting developments about Israel. For example, there's a new leaker coming out of TPUSA that alleges that there was Israeli assets inside of TPUSA for a long time, and specifically Israeli assets vetting new recruits about their allegiance to Israel under very strange and suspicious circumstances. This leaker has had multiple accounts banned, multiple accounts taken down. They've been jumping all over TikTok and Instagram, and you've probably, if you're hip to the new platforms like that, you've probably seen one of these videos floating around. So we'll take a look at that. And I think we'll probably wrap it up with a bit of a catch up with Candace, with the case, and with Kash Patel on the job. Because thank goodness that Kash Patel is on the job. The FBI is here, folks. And Kash Patel is officially taking matters seriously, as always. And so rest assured that we're going to get some real answers, and we're really going to get to the bottom of things now that Kash Patel is on the job. Thanks to Megyn Kelly. Big shout out to Megyn Kelly for putting Kash Patel on the job. But let's start at the start with our boy Nick Fuentes. Nick. Listen. I'm going to take a lot of heat for this section of the show. Bring it on. I've been pretty outspoken in my support of Nick Fuentes. I've been pretty into Nick's rise, and regardless of disagreements about specific things that Nick says, I'm pretty much generally excited that Nick is entering the mainstream and the normal conversation. I like how Nick forces us all to challenge our ideas and forces people to think more critically about ideas that we didn't even realize we should be thinking about. I like that his ideas are controversial. I like that they're complicated and they're backed up by a intense intellect. And I like that he has the backstory of 10 years of hard work to make it happen. There's a lot of things I like about Nick. And obviously, the thing that most of us like the most about Nick is his stance on Israel, is his unwavering stance on Israel against all odds, across the years, against censorship, against everything, right? It's a real David versus Goliath story with Nick Fuentes is how it would read. And it's hard not to root for the guy, you know? Being canceled by Ben Shapiro basically a decade ago, and now triumphantly returning at long last to squash Ben and the entire Daily Wire and all of his critics in so many ways. It's a wonderful story. And I do mean all of that seriously. I'm not being sarcastic about that. But Nick, you're the Israel guy. You're our guy, bro. And we are now well into the moment with Israel, with TPUSA, with Candace, with the Trump government, with everything. And what's going on, man? Where are you at, Nick? Like, yeah, Nick is still doing his thing. He's still running his show. He's still being critical of Israel. But he's also doing the podcast circuit, basically running everything he can against Candace and against actual, like, factual information. I could understand if Nick was skeptical of Candace's sources, but Nick is straight up, like, not here, not there for the conversation about Israel in the way I think a lot of us expect and the way I think a lot of us were ready for. It's like arriving on the battlefield and your general is off hanging out with Steven Crowder. And it's like, what is going on, bro? Why are you doing puff pieces with Steven fucking Crowder right now, dude? This is weird. And it's weird to me, and I bet it's weird to a lot of people. It's probably weird to some of the groypers, though I'm sure some of the groypers will follow Nick till the end of the earth, and, you know, you do you. And I'm not here to say that, I'm not here to say that Nick is a Fed. I'm not here to say that Nick is this or that. I'm not here to shit on Nick completely. But I am here to just, air out the room. Like, bro, where are you at? What's going on, dog? It's time. It's happening. We're in the meme. It's happening. And you're like over there hanging out with Steven Crowder, doing puff pieces. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, I'll show you. And we'll just try to reconcile this somehow. So, Steven Crowder, yesterday at 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, here for the Mug Club, as always, with special guest Nick Fuentes.
Mr. Fuentes, thank you for being here, sir. Can you hear me, see me okay?
Yes, can you hear me?
I can hear you,
And I just want to really quickly take the little low blow shot and remind all of the Con Inc. influencers that you're evil if you platform Nick Fuentes. How could you ever platform such a raging anti-Semite? Oh my gosh. I'm just going to go out on a limb and guess that Steven Crowder's not going to get that treatment. And I'll let you make up your own mind as to why that might not be. But I don't think that Steven Crowder is going to get the same treatment. He might get a little nudge, a little prickle here or there. And I'm not alleging that Steven Crowder was ever on the cancel train. I'm not here to try to like dig up every clip that anyone's ever posted, whatever. Y'all do your thing. I'm just reminding us that Con Inc., Crowder's crowd, they're going to be duplicitous on this one.
I see. I appreciate the Christmas decor. A lot of people don't do that. Let me get this just out of the way really quickly. Obviously, on X, and that's a win. You're back. Nicholas J. Fuentes. It's America First on Rumble.
Monday, I'll be doing a show.
I will warn you, Piers Morgan Uncensored is rather censored. Passed it and then edited it out afterwards.
Okay.
So no N-word, huh? All right, I'll have to keep that in mind.
Right.
I'll try not to use it.
If he asks you, well, would you say it?
Starting
or he
off on a good
challenges you,
foot.
and
We're
you
starting
do,
off on a good foot.
I actually did that one good time.
Let's get through the intro.
I hate above all else. It's like I feel compelled to defend, no matter who it is, when jokes or statements.
I just want to remind us, just reminder, before we get into this. Steven Crowder hates when there's a dog pile, and he feels compelled to reach out to the censored and help them out and uplift them. When everyone's shitting on someone, he just feels compelled to help out. But I also want to remind you that Steven Crowder had some weird fucking government leaks about the rifle that Tyler Robinson allegedly used, where like the government was reaching out to Steven Crowder with the inside scoop on the day of the shooting to help create the Fed narrative. And it was very odd. There's a lot we could say about Crowder. Y'all make up your own mind. But like specifically on the Charlie Kirk thing, that was weird.
Are mischaracterized, taken out of context. I've had that happen to me. I think it's happened to you quite a bit. I don't want to do that. All right. Hopefully, I think, neither one of us does that. And I also really hate seeing gang ups. And that's why I kill the mics. If anyone here,
he really hates seeing people gang up on creators. Right? Just not on that one black girl, because fuck her. But Nick, I just hate seeing people gang up on creators, on people speaking the truth, on free speech.
Really didn't like seeing what happened with Candace and Tucker, especially after you appeared with Tucker, and it seemed pretty cordial. And then he took pot shots once you were gone. I promise you, I'm not going to do that. That fair?
Yeah, no, I appreciate that.
Okay. And what I really want to do is I want people to actually hear your views for what they actually are.
I do wish that Tucker hadn't taken, like, I wouldn't know to say pot shots, but I wish that Tucker had stood more completely firm on how he had conducted himself and how he conducted that interview. But,
And I know a lot of people are going to disagree. And some people, they'll be moved. They'll be convinced. And I want them to make up their own mind and be able to contrast it. So I ask that we're able to do that. I will also say, hey, look, I do want to thank you because, I've been subject to some concerted hit pieces myself. And you didn't join in on the dog pile. And I do appreciate that.
Yeah, got to stand up for a guy. It's bros before hoes.
Oh,
so,
yes.
So I'm with you.
Now, I don't so much appreciate you implying that, I'm bringing talking points from BlackRock or the Israel lobby, considering I've been sued by BlackRock and even Rumble had to fight back. So I think let's just make sure we take each other's opinions at face value. I don't think that you're paid for to say anything that you're saying, and I can tell you definitively that I've never taken a dime from an outside entity.
This is a weird sentence. I can assure you that I've never taken a dime from an outside entity, or I think he says a foreign government. Define an outside entity, Crowder? I mean, like, you're allowed to take advertisers, but I think I get what he's trying to say.
Foreign interest. Is that good?
Yeah, I believe you. Sounds good to me.
Okay, all right. Also, I want to make sure
I think Nick is a little
issues so we're
confused
not
right now,
mischaracterized. A lot of people watching. This is the last kind of ground rule. I want to kind of address each issue point by point. I'm going to avoid point stacking, or just go rapid fire because
pay attention to Crowder's wording here at the start. Okay, just look for the wording right about.
People will use that, take it out of context. People go, and Nick wiggled out of this, and they do that with me. I want no one to mischaracterize anything. So with that said, I have a couple of rapid fires, but I think you're going to like them, okay?
Okay, yeah.
But they're going to be softballs. I'm here to help, which is like, okay, bro, what? Cool. Like, what are we doing with Steven Crowder here?
Sure.
These are layups, and I mean rapid fire. And then I want to give you the floor.
Sure.
Nick, I think there's some misconceptions of you. I've heard this said. Can you clear the air? Nick Fuentes, do you hate all Jews, sir?
No, I don't.
Okay. Do you consider yourself an anti-Semite, a noted anti-Semite?
No.
Okay.
We'll get to this in just a second.
Clears that up. Do you believe that white people are superior to all other races on the planet?
No.
Okay. Do you want to eradicate all non-whites from the United States?
No.
Okay. Well, Barry Weiss will be very happy to hear that. No doubt she's watching. And then because this happens a lot, right? It's Tucker did this with you. Fed. Nick Fuentes, are you in fact a Fed?
No.
Okay. I'm going to get through these rapid fire really quickly. They're actually, there's not much. So this week, Jillian Michaels will be on the show next week while you're doing Pierce Morgan Censored. And she said that we need to disavow you, and specifically said you had said that women either want or need to be raped. Now, I looked for this. I have not found as a matter of prescription from you, correct me if I'm wrong, that you believe women should be raped as a matter of policy. Do I have that right?
Yeah, you're correct on that. Yes.
Okay. All right.
And to be clear, I'm not saying that you shouldn't give Nick an opportunity to clarify his views. And I'm not saying that his clarifications are disqualifying. I'm not trying to make fun of any, like, whatever. Just subtext. And now here we go.
Right. So she's wrong. She's just an angry lesbian. Got it. Now, finally, this one might surprise people because I know you and Charlie Kirk were sort of rivals, as you've described. Been a lot of controversy floating around that, and people often say that you blame the Jews for everything. Do you believe the Jews killed Charlie Kirk? That's one of the conspiracies out there right now. What's your position on that?
I don't believe that. As it stands right now, I think it was Tyler Robinson.
Yeah. Nick, pay attention out here, bro. You think that a 30-06 hit a neck vertebrae and turned at a 90-degree angle and then continued at full velocity and shattered a bunch of neck vertebrae below it and then possibly went down into his heart and stopped his heart? You think that they just paved over the crime scene 2 days later on a Sunday just by happenstance? You think that there was a bunch of foreign military planes on the ground that day doing weird flight stuff just by chance? You think that Charlie Kirk literally tweeting to his Jewish and Zionist donors that he needs to leave the pro-Israel cause is not relevant? And that him texting to his friends the day before this happened that he was afraid they were going to kill him is not relevant? That Bibi Netanyahu offering him an enormous sum of money that he turned down is not relevant? Like, you're supposed to be our guy, bro. This is your moment. This is your moment on so many levels, dude. Where are you? You're on Steven Crowder disavowing the people that are actually out here taking on Israel, taking on the deep state, taking on the whole thing. And you're over here with Crowder. With Crowder. And we're going to get into all of these different elements throughout this show. And like, the world is not about picking sides. But sometimes when you look at the sides of an issue, it tells you a lot about the issue. And it tells you a lot about how. If you are thinking about a thing in a way that makes you arrive at the same conclusion as Tim Pool, and as Steven Crowder, and as Rabbi Shmuley, and as all these other people. And to be clear, I'm not saying that Nick is the same as Rabbi Shmuley. And I'm just saying, how are you winding up at the conclusion of these guys? With all that you know, with all that you've called out, with your deep understanding of how Jewish donors control things. with your deep understanding of the history of Mossad and of the CIA? You don't even think there's a possibility? Not even a chance. And I know that you've got beef with Candace and that you just don't like Candace. And I know that Candace has beef with you. And it's like, I know it's a lot for her to be doing really well right now on her podcast, despite all the hardship that is involved in that. But like, that is not why, like, that's not a reason. That's not what's going on here. Like, what is going on here, bro? And I also understand, I get it, that there is a perfectly good reason why, when this first happened, Nick might have been reticent to come out with any kind of theories because the Groypers were about to be target number one. Okay? But in fact, it was actually Candace and everyone pointing the finger at Israel and everyone starting to uncover on this exact train of thought that exonerated the Groypers. Because they all quickly dug into the case and realized that this is not Tyler Robinson. And Tyler Robinson also is not a Groyper. And so once the Groypers were exonerated, I just don't really see how that affects the conversation right now. And Nick, even if you still kind of think it might be most likely Tyler Robinson and you want to be the one that made that right call, even when everyone else made the wrong call, even so, along the way here, we have gotten so much information that absolutely obliterates the pro-Israel narrative, that absolutely exposes Israel's infiltration of Christian churches, Israel's infiltration of politics, Israel's infiltration of donor culture, of conservative Inc. And this is supposed to be your moment. This is supposed to be your rise. You're on the generational run, bro. And you have generationally run right to Steven Crowder's show to hang out with the Fed slop narrative for like kind of a facetious take on it. It's very confusing to a lot of us, and it's a bummer because I genuinely like you being here. I genuinely like that you challenge the conversation, and I'm genuinely impressed by what you've done with your platform and your messaging over the years. But like, I think a lot of creators right now are feeling the way I'm feeling and are just afraid to say it because we all know how the Groypers are. And we all know that Nick is good at holding a grudge. And that's cool. If Nick wants to hold a grudge, that's fine. I'm not stressed. But I'm just genuinely like, bro, this is your moment. And you ain't here. We're all on the front lines of battle for America, to save America from this influence. This exact investigation has not only exposed Israel's grasp over organizations like TPUSA, but in the process, it has exposed reporting about Israel's grasp over Trump himself, over the White House, over American Christian churches. It's just very confusing. It's very confusing. And I guess the way that it seems to me is that if we're going to be winning Anti-Semite of the Year, it seems like you got to be on the front lines of battle, bro. And I get it. That's not why he didn't win Anti-Semite of the Year. It's because they're fucking scared of giving him a bigger platform. They know that if they give him Anti-Semite of the Year, if they even nominate him, it's just going to make him bigger. And, we're just going to all celebrate it. Because everyone else is just celebrating. Stu Peters is doing a victory lap. Everyone's hyped. We're all competing for it. But Nick is just out here taking shots at Candace left and right. And it's like, I get that you've got a vendetta, but it's like, bro, what's going on here? And you're going on all the podcasts
Just for like engagement?
I think that's a huge part of it. I think that she cares that her friend died. At the same time, this has been really good business for her. She's getting like 150,000.
She's actually pretty much been doing the same numbers as before. If you actually look at it, she's gone up maybe like a few 100,000 views per live on average, but she's been getting 2 million views on a live since long before Charlie was killed. Her Brigitte stories were doing incredible views. They were breaking the whole world. It's actually kind of a fallacy to say that she's been milking this for money. I mean, it's very understandable that she's going to follow the investigation to its end. But
viewers, millions of views on every show. She's probably making tons of money. At this point, I think she's milking it. It's been like 3 months, and every show is, this changes everything. You're not going to want to miss it.
Nick, if you were murdered, I would not stop until I figured out who the fuck did it. And I don't even know you. I've never met you. But if you were murdered today, especially if there were suspicious circumstances, especially if you had just texted your Jewish Zionist donors, which I know you don't have, but if the situation were reversed and you had been murdered, I would not stop investigating that until we figured it out and proved it, because it would be essential to the American conversation. It would be essential to free speech and to everyone in our positions. And if the FBI came out and there's this suspicious murder of Nick Fuentes, and the FBI comes out and is like, oh, it was this lone gunman with a gay lover, I wouldn't be buying that shit for a second. Even if you didn't send a tweet or a text message rather, saying, I'm afraid they're going to kill me. I have to leave the pro-Israel cause. We would all do the same for you, or at least I would. I can't speak for everyone. So is it milking it to try to get to the bottom of the whole thing? When the story that the feds were giving was falling apart on day one. The story that the feds were giving fell apart a month before the shooting happened, when Harrison Smith tweeted out that a source close to Charlie told him that Charlie was afraid that Israel was going to kill him.
To tune in tomorrow, where she's like, I have more evidence, but I'm going to wait to release it. Why? So you can milk it for ratings? If you have evidence.
Do you remember the time when she had that one text message that everyone said she didn't have, and she got everyone to lie on Charlie's name, including Andrew Colvett most prominently? And everyone's coming out and trying to spin their own spin, and she's just waiting for all of them to put their receipts on the table. You remember that? Yeah.
Evidence, put it all out there.
Do you think then Candace is...
So, I'm just bummed, man. I'm bummed. Because this is supposed to be your moment. Like, you're supposed to be out ahead of us leading the charge. Your intellect is supposed to be here dismantling this Zionist complex, dismantling the Zionist donor base, exposing this bullshit. Because this specific issue right here, this issue is the exact example of why your point, specifically your point, that it's not just the Israeli government, it is also American Zionists, American Jewish Zionists, and this network that they have built inside of America on behalf of this foreign state, because that's what TPUSA is exactly. If there's any moment in time when America has a direct, obvious example of what you have been championing for years, it's right now with Turning Point USA. And suddenly everyone else is gone. Like, everyone else has gone off to fight it. And you are not there. So it's weird. It's weird. And so instead, Miss Rachel has won Anti-Semite of the Year for good reason. Because obviously, look at this
Let's go
evil,
back to sleep, Rahaf. We're
evil
so tired.
anti-Semite.
So See the bunny sleeping till it's nearly noon. Shall we wake them with a merry tune? They're so still, are they ill?
I mean, that's a rough L to take, but she is pretty anti-Semitic. And like you could expect, everyone on the list is just celebrating for the most part. Your favorite guy, shout out to Guy Christensen. I got an affinity for a guy because he's a TikToker like myself, an OG TikToker. And Guy made the list. He's trying to figure out how to help his followers vote for him. I'm sure you'll figure it out, Guy. Congratulations on the strong performance this year. Keep up the hard work. Maybe you should tweet more things like wanting kids to live isn't anti-Semitic. Maybe then, Guy, you could take the top spot next year. Stu Peters obviously is celebrating. When I win the award for 2025 Anti-Semite of the Year, I will dedicate it to Charlie Kirk, who gave his life for the cause. Make sure to cast your vote. See, Stu's out here. Stu's out here. He's speaking the truth. Stu's known it since day one. And he's right. He's right. Charlie Kirk gave his life for the cause. He didn't mean to. He didn't want to, I don't assume. But from all indications, he kind of knew it was coming. And let's just say this. I'll put my cards on the table here. You can clip this. And if by the end of this whole saga, no one has ever produced a text message from Charlie Kirk saying, I think they're going to kill me. If that text message never surfaces in any form, or no, if the insiders that said that happened never really come forwards, I'll eat my words. But based upon the journalists that have reported on that story, the multiple journalists, I count at least 3 extremely high quality journalists that have all individually reported that happened in the days directly before the assassination, I feel quite confident that those are out there. And I suspect that they're in the hands of people that are holding them for the right moment. And if Charlie Kirk was sending text messages saying, I think they're going to kill me, and then he went to UVU and got shot in the amphitheater, it's kind of like he did actually give his life for the cause. So, stop anti-Semitism and this whole anti-Semite of the year. Unfortunately, my YouTube videos have reloaded, but I think I can pick my spot perfectly. Huge shout out to James Lee. Of course, obviously, huge shout out to James Lee. 2 clips from 2 different videos of his right now to set the tone.
Definitely use some of your support. So I'll start here. A few weeks ago, the pro-Israel Stop Anti-Semitism advocacy group named me Anti-Semite of the Week.
Congrats, bro. Well earned.
For what? Simply daring to call out Israel's lies and deceit.
For that, he was banned on TikTok with no apparent reasoning given, with no apparent strikes or anything. Just, you're gone. And then he was fired for breaking points, which I don't suspect is exactly the same. Like, I want to hope is not related. I assume it's not related. Sagar seems at least to be pretty based, but I don't know. But James, being James, he could never just let it be. James always got to do the dig. And if you're not following 5149 James Lee on all the platforms, including most especially YouTube, highly recommend you give 5149 James Lee a follow. Dude is a total legend.
Alliance, a super American agenda. Scroll down a little bit more and we find out that the Morona Family Foundation is tied to a bunch of other NGOs, which I'll read off for you, just a few of these for your sampling, such as the Central Fund of Israel.
This is behind a few layers who funds the Stop Anti-Semitism organization, which is really just one woman.
Israel Endowment Fund, Students Supporting Israel, Talk Israel, Like, what the heck is going on here? But yeah, let's investigate Miss Rachel, who teaches kids hide and seek because she might be funded by Qatar. I want us to take a look at that 990 again. We see the address, 15910 Ventura Boulevard, Unit 700, Encino, California, 91436. And that address is registered to none other than one Adam Milstein. Okay, we got a familiar name here. We are definitely on the right track. And 15910 Ventura Boulevard, Unit 700, per Google Street View, looks to be inside this nice-looking modern high-rise. So then I looked up the tenancy records to see that Unit 700 belongs to a Hager Pacific. Well, turns out Hager Pacific is a commercial real estate firm owned by Adam Milstein. Boom. Now everything makes total sense, right? These rabbit holes, sometimes they do lead us somewhere, which is that an advocacy group, Stop Anti-Semitism, is funded by, it turns out, a mysterious nonprofit that is funded by Israel, the Morona Family Foundation, which is then also tied to a massive commercial real estate firm owned by an Israeli citizen. That would be Adam Milstein's Hager Pacific, which is probably where Miss Rez is likely getting her various fake addresses and empty buildings from. Again, these are their real addresses, one in Newport Beach, one in Encino, and a third in Los Angeles. Do with that information what you will. That is
James being a legend. If you don't know, Stop Anti-Semitism is well known for doxing people who say anything bad about Israel, the government of Israel, Bibi Netanyahu, Jewish things, whatever it is, getting them doxed, getting them kicked out of their jobs, getting them fired, getting them ostracized, all sorts of horrible shit. Yeah. Journalism, bro. And so I just want to remind us again, as we get into this, as we look at the environment on X, as we look at accounts like Stop Anti-Semitism, just remember that Israel has just multiplied its propaganda budget times 20. Okay? Times 20, not times 2. 20x the propaganda budget. And this is obviously coming from a Israeli source forward Jewish independent nonprofit. And now, there's a weird rumor floating around out here. I wasn't intending for this to be a section in the show until I saw this tweet from Milo today. And yes, I know, Milo. Yes, we'll talk about it. But I just couldn't help but notice I know for a fact that Charlie Kirk has not been buried. Like he's not in the ground. And listen, Milo's a very controversial, polarizing figure. We'll mention that in a second here. But in my limited experience on the internet, in my limited experience observing Milo's posting online, I have seen Milo bring a lot of receipts to a lot of very, shall we say, heated contests, controversial topics. He goes on. Okay, cool. Where's Charlie's gravestone, please? In which cemetery is he buried? I can't visit Mark's. I can't visit Nietzsche. I like to pay my respects to Charlie. Where do I go, please? He seems to be doing his general Milo trolling thing. And then I noticed Irina Mappin? Donor family to TPUSA? The kind of people that would at least be like what? If Charlie Kirk had been properly buried, he would be turning in his grave at the behavior of Turning Point executives. As it is, may God help his soul. I feel like that's a reference to what Milo is saying as well. You're okay, Jeej. Sorry, your treats aren't up here right now. You just chill. I'm sure that Charlie wants all such truth to come out, Nero, and he is finding ways to communicate to ensure that it does. Spirits in a discarnate form after death of the body can be highly telepathic and can make sure that truth reaches its needed destination. Charlie has a right to a peaceful burial with his true legacy intact. Those that know about this should be transparent. Thoughts? My thought is that I would like some transparency. My thought is that if Charlie Kirk is not in the ground, what are their plans to do with his body and what is going on? Obviously, I can't corroborate that. I'm just curious why this rumor is going around. And I'm curious what comes of it. Because we have had some discussion, some controversy over what exactly did happen with his body. The chain of custody of his body was quite weird. The memorializing of Charlie Kirk has been extreme and very strange. And it kind of makes me wonder what the plan, if that is true, what exactly is the plan with his body? I would like to know where his body is. He is a Christian, after all. But, you know, obviously, especially as I'm kind of shitting on Nick in the same show, you know, you should know that a lot of people will shit on Milo too and call him like a gay-fed grifter and all the things. And, you know, you can look those threads up as well. And Gripers will be sure to post them everywhere that Milo posts. They're not hard to find. Not really here to weigh in on Milo's ancient history. It's a fucking mess. But as all messes are, Milo is, you know, being Milo. And so I guess we'll see just how fucking messy 2026 gets. I want nothing to do with that shit. Now, let's talk about our boy Tim. Let's talk about Mr. Tim Pool. Tim Pool has been having a generational crash out. A generational crash out over Candace Owens. And I'm not here to play all of Tim's crashing out about Candace and all of his insults and all of his great ideas. But Project Constitution did point something out in this recent Tim Pool clip that he did sort of accidentally kind of tattle on the nature of conservative Con Inc. media today. See if you can catch it.
Candace is what's happening on the right seems to be maybe Candace is intentionally playing the heel to unite everyone against her. It's like the weirdest thing now because
selfless, right? Selfless.
I have check this out. Since she started doing this arc, our PR people have been getting inundated by mainstream media reporters. They've been texting me like crazy. They're asking us to like give our. It's the weirdest thing ever. That all of a sudden the corporate press is like, we're interested in this rift. We want more press on it. And I'm like, is the point to just get like all...
So he thinks that he's talking about how Candace is tearing everybody apart. But Tim's not exactly quick enough to realize that what you just said is that there's a massive incentive structure right now in the Con Inc. media for all of the Con Inc. influencers to jump on the bandwagon that you're on, Tim. To jump on the shit on Candace bandwagon. And what kind of incentives do you think they're offering? They're at least offering access. That was a direct statement of they're offering access. If you want to shit on Candace, we'll bring you on. We'll hype you up. We'll share your shit. We're interested in the dirt. We'll give your name a little time in the sun. But it makes you wonder what else might be floating around. What else might be floating around, Tim? Well, we have this nice screenshot of you on the screen. What else might be floating around as incentive to stir up dirt about Candace? Or to, shall we say, feed the Fed slop to the good little goys out there in the audience?
All of the regular conservatives to find their villain.
So she's not J.J. Abrams. She's Vince McMahon during the Stone Cold Steve Austin era of WWE.
Yes.
I have no idea what that means.
I do. You're right. It is.
Okay.
And it's a bummer because I did enjoy going on their show. It was a fun show, but I don't think I'm probably ever going to be invited back on Tim Pool. Ever since I reported on his attempt to sell to the Daily Wire. That was awkward. So, one last little take here. And I purposely quoted Mr. Gary as well. Candace commented on this as well. We're all crying that we're going to lose the midterms because Candace Owens. The Republicans aren't going to win the little midterms because Candace Owens is investigating the truth. It's so mean.
She is one of the biggest podcasts on the right doing everything to go to war with the organization that helped get Trump elected. Turning Point specifically was going out and registering people to vote. Without Charlie, it's in trouble. Turning Point needs to be able to go out and rally young people and register them to vote. And she's doing everything she can to destroy that. And that is going to, I suppose, it's going to rip out the coffers on the right. There is no organization like Turning Point that exists anywhere else that has the resources and the reach. And without Charlie, I'm not sure that they can make it. But
Tim, let's put this real simple in plain English. Candace Owens is what you would call a journalist. And you might, come up with your own mean words to try to call her. Candace Owens is reporting on stories as a journalist in search of the truth, wherever that may lead her. And in particular, like a good journalist, she is in pursuit of holding the powerful to account, particularly the corrupt and evil powerful, the powerful that look suspicious, the powerful that have committed crimes, the powerful that are fucking shit up. That's what Candace Owens does for a living. What you are doing for a living is what we might call being an influencer, being a talking head, an entertainer, a shill. But you are not a journalist. And so it's understandable that you would not be understanding what she's doing because she's doing a different job than you. She's doing a different service for the American people than you. You are not here to do journalism, and you have never been doing journalism. You host a talk show that is just entertainment dressed up as information. But it is not journalism, okay? So let's just clear that up. She's doing journalism, and you are just a skateboarder turned influencer with a podcast, okay? The point of journalism is to hold the powerful to account, not to get presidents elected, not to take partisan sides, not to shill for someone, not to take donor money and try to get, your guy in, not to be a loyalist, okay? That's not what a journalist does. And in fact, that is all disqualifying for journalists. And that's why I feel quite confident saying that you're not one. Okay? So, if you could kindly take your crash out to someone who cares, because we're out here busy doing journalism. And you are like MTV for 2025. Because whether you like it or not, there has been a credible threat on Candace's life. And she has given you enough that you should at least take it somewhat seriously. But I know enough to know that it is quite serious, that it's real. And the fact that President Trump is ignoring an allegation of an assassination contract taken out by the French head of state on a prominent U.S. citizen is affecting his approval rating and his legacy. That is the kind of reason why the conservative base is fractured. That's the kind of reason why Turning Point USA is crumbling. It's because of what they're all doing. This is not hard to understand. This is not some novel idea, okay? Candace Owens is just reporting on the situation. The situation is that we're being ruled by a bunch of fucking spineless sellouts that are taking orders from someone else and playing games with the American taxpayer while the American taxpayer is being threatened with their life, being bludgeoned into bankruptcy, being shat on, having their freedom of speech restricted. So, let's just remember, Candace didn't bring Israel into this conversation. Candace actually held off for quite some time. She held off longer than me. In fact, it was Charlie Kirk that brought Israel into this situation. In case you had forgotten, Tim. In case you had forgotten, Nick, it was Charlie Kirk that brought Israel into the situation. Shout out to Harrison Smith. I don't know who needs to hear this again, but the person who blamed Charlie Kirk's murder on Israel was Charlie Kirk. And everyone said, oh, that's just ridiculous. Like, oh, this Harrison guy, he works at InfoWars. Really? Come on. Jewish donors play into all the stereotypes. I cannot and will not be bullied like this, leaving me no choice but to leave the pro-Israel cause. And if you want to bet your reputation and your predictive capabilities on betting that there's no text message floating around out there of Charlie saying something to the effect of, I'm worried that this is the end. I'm worried they're going to do it. I'm worried they're going to take me out. Go right ahead and make that bet. Personally, I've seen more than enough reporting, more than enough circumstantial evidence that I'm going to wait and see. Because I suspect that you don't get reporting like this, that you don't get the kind of very concrete statements like the ones that Candace has been making in the last couple days. You don't get all that like the one that was leaked to Harrison a month beforehand. You don't get all that from those types of people, which I know personally to be high integrity. Except Blumenthal. I don't know Blumenthal. But that doesn't come from nowhere. That doesn't come out of thin air, especially before the event has actually happened, before Charlie's actually been shot. Okay? So it was Charlie that brought Israel into this. It was Charlie that named Israel as the number one suspect. And it was the feds that fed you Tyler Robinson. It was the feds that fed you a fucking ridiculous 30-06 narrative with the planted gun, an obvious patsy, disappearing tranny boyfriend, a bunch of schizo fed photos, a bunch of weirdly cut up footage, a whole bunch of inconsistencies and lies, a literal cover up of the scene of the crime. Yeah. So call me crazy, but I'm going to stick with the journalists. And Tim, you can stick with the Fed slop. And Nick, we would really love to have you back over here on the team, bro. We would really love for you to join in the fight to save America. The one that you set the stage for. The one that you have been championing for 10 years. This is your moment. This is your time to shine. And it's all there. In case you hadn't noticed, Charlie Kirk personally lobbied Trump against striking Iran. And that is a huge deal. Israel needs the war with Iran ASAP. They have a very narrow window to engage in their plans for Middle Eastern domination, to engage in their plans to wipe the infidels, the dirty browns, off of their little slice of the map. And Charlie fucked that up in a big way. Charlie was vehemently anti-war with Iran, to the point of risking his own reputation, his own personal connections, his own access to the White House to tromps on in there and give Trump a piece of his mind. And by all reporting, Charlie Kirk is the reason why we never went boots on the ground with Iran, why we never went with what Bibi was hoping for, and instead just did an extremely limited strike. And John Kiriakou, ex-CIA, recently said on Julian Dory's podcast that he has a source inside the deep administration that told him that Bibi allegedly, according to Kiriakou, threatened Trump that if America didn't get involved with Iran, that Bibi would use nukes to strike Iran. That's what Kiriakou said. And I know that's a crazy claim. That's a crazy claim, Ian. That is an absolutely crazy claim. I probably should have brought the clip up. So I will. If you don't know Kiriakou's history, he's ex-CIA. He was a whistleblower on CIA, I believe, for their torture programs, among other things. And now he generally seems to be an unhinged, pissed off ex-CIA that thought he was doing a patriotic thing back in the day. Judge the testimony for whatever you think.
Told that Donald Trump... The reason, though, I'm told, that Donald Trump decided to bomb Iran was that the Israelis said, for the first time, if you don't bomb Iran to take out these deep bunkers, we're going to use nuclear weapons. And they had never threatened
Look at his
that
face.
before.
Look at Julian's face.
And so Trump said, bombing Iran might actually save us from the start of World War III if it keeps the Israelis from using...
Julian's about to bring up a very good point that I think has just occurred to a lot of us.
Nuclear weapons.
So according to your source, the Israelis told the President of the United States that if he did not use the United States military power to bomb the nuclear facilities in Iran, Israel, acting on its own, would use nuclear weapons.
Yeah.
Do you see why there's a problem with that statement, John?
Yeah.
Because they've never admitted that they've had them.
That's right.
So you're telling me that they just admitted to the President of the United States that they have nuclear weapons and we still do not have them in the IAEA treaty?
I mean, if Israeli nuclear whistleblowers are to be believed, yeah, they've had them. They started working on them in the 50s.
And just real quick, can we give a massive shout out to our boys' new camera setup? Look at how crispy Julian's new cameras are. They're the shit. Bro spent a lot of money and a lot of time and effort to get this shit set up. I was talking to him and watching as he did it, and fuck, did it pay off, dude. That is sick. Okay, so Charlie Kirk was staunchly against war with Iran in every possible way. TPUSA is not feeling the vibe so much anymore. Here is TPUSA, Monica Page TV for Frontlines TPUSA, asking the Department of War an update.
Thank you. And my second question regarding Iran, there are reports that Iran's been planning on rebuilding its nuclear facilities. Iranian's president has said that it plans to rebuild its nuclear facilities with, quote, greater strength. Can you provide us on any sort of update on where that currently stands?
I can tell you that Operation Midnight Hammer was an absolute resounding success. Iran's nuclear capabilities were totally obliterated, and experts estimated that, it would take 2 years for them to recover. So thanks to President Trump's bold and swift action, we were able to dismantle that threat to the American people. And I think it was also a historic operation by virtue of the fact that there was a clear end state. We have seen this department get marred down in the Middle East in endless wars and nation building. That has stopped under this president and this secretary. We now have a clear end state, a clear mission set, and Operation Midnight Hammer was a success in dismantling that.
Could have been worse. Could have been worse. But when the reporters are setting up those kinds of questions, that's, unless you were born yesterday, you kind of realize what exactly it is they're setting up. So, Israel. We've been hearing an awful lot about how Israel has nothing to do with this. Israel's not around. They're not involved. They're not in the TPUSA thing. TPUSA is all American. It's all Christian. It's all just Christian. They didn't have anything to do with Charlie Kirk's death. They didn't offer him any money. None of those things. But we just keep on getting holes in the boat. New leaks, new whistleblowing, new audits, just all sorts of stuff that... maybe it's all fake. maybe it's all just Qatari propaganda. But if you've been on the internet, you've probably had a friend send you these videos recently. I personally have had a whole bunch of people send this to me just in the last 24 hours. And I actually had to, I clicked on the link and I went to it and it was no longer there because these videos are actually getting taken down off TikTok. Can't imagine why. So I hunted them down. Bro only has a couple up, and he's been hopping around between Instagram and TikTok, and you can find him. And you can find out that he very much has plenty of photographic evidence that he very much did work at TPUSA. So make of that what you will.
I'm a former representative for Turning Point USA, and I have a story to tell about when I was at training at Turning Point. So the first couple nights went as you would expect. It's pretty long and strenuous work. We were being trained very vigorously, and after the first few days, we were told that we were going to have some group time.
Pardon the screen recording. This is a TikTok thing because this video is getting taken down a lot. So now it's being reposted a lot by people. That's why TikTok was such a threat, is because you can download videos directly off TikTok, or there's now a culture of screen recording them. And so people will naturally just, save them if they think it's spicy, and they were right to do it because this is now a repost of the original.
And the first thing that I thought about that was that's going to be awesome. We get a group bond and stuff like that. And I get to hang out with my leader. However, this was not the case. We were going to be going out with our former representatives that had shown up from previous years and had been at training in previous years. And they were going to be the ones that were going to show us around the city. So I get paired up with these two specific people who I cannot name currently, but they take us out. And the first thing that I found very odd about, this Christian conservative company is they rented 2 stripper vans to take us out to the city. No strippers, but it was like there were stripper poles inside the vans. Very odd, very
If you've heard the rumors floating around at TPUSA events, not actually all that odd. The odd part is that there weren't a bunch of dudes in there dancing around with you.
Unlike, their values, but okay. And then once we got down to the bars in Arizona, they started getting us drunk. The former reps were, and very drunk at that. And then they started singling out people, and they would pull them out one by one to go outside and smoke like a cigarette. Now, when it was finally my turn to go and talk to them, they approached me and they asked me, hey, what are your views on Israel? And I just...
Someone in the chat knows about the TPUSA hotel parties. Yes, indeed.
Told them, I think Israel's a good country. At the time, I thought so, at least. And they told me, okay, well, what do you think about, Mossad and, Israeli forces? And I was like, they're all right. Yeah. And they were like, what if we told you we're part of, Israeli groups and forces? And I was like, oh, that's interesting. And I'm like, and you work for Turning Point, right? And they were like, yeah, we do. We've been working for Turning Point for the past 4 or 5 years now. Now, at the time, I did not know if the company knew of this. I did not know if they were infiltrating the company by any means, but they were Israeli agents within Turning Point USA, and I knew that there were more as well, and there was many more of them in Turning Point. And it was a very concerning thing for me and a couple of the representatives that we noticed. And we did end up bringing it up to our administration at Turning Point that this was going on, and they said they would take care of it. And sure enough, nothing was done about it. There was absolutely zero retaliation towards those representatives that were a part of Israel, and there was nothing. And that was very disappointing to see, and honestly a huge red flag for all.
Yeah, that is a huge red flag, but it is not surprising at all. If you know how these big conservative organizations work, if you'd ever noticed who the CEO of PragerU is, you'd kind of be hip to the program. Because what he's alleging, more or less, is some version of inside of the organization TPUSA, there's a bunch of Israelis. Or at least, Jewish people working on behalf of Israeli organizations that are essentially in the training pipeline, in the intake pipeline, training up new recruits, new volunteers, new employees, and they're vetting them by taking them out on stripper buses to party getting them all drunk for a little get-to-know-you time. And then, while they're drunk, hopefully they're all of age, as in the 21 of age, let alone the 18 of age. And then once they're drunk, then they're interrogating them about their views on Israel. And then they're slyly dropping the bombs a little bit, to some of them at least, maybe, while you're drunk. So no, I'm sure you just misheard it. I'm sure you misunderstood me. You were drunk. How many drinks did you even have? In fact, I'm going to report you for how drunk you got. You might get kicked out of the organization. See how this works? Always in these blackmail-y kinds of environments. Always using these techniques. There's a few more of them floating around, but we'll just watch one more. His name is Joshua. I forget his last name. Joshua Peterson, spelled with E's. And this is being shared by the Lightbird.
Joshua Peterson. I worked for Turning Point USA and
I hope that this music is not copyright.
Turning Point USA faith, and I knew Charlie Kirk personally. I want to say on the record that there was a inner circle at Turning Point USA that was constantly working against Charlie and his interests and what he wanted to do, as well as there was a Jewish influence in Turning Point that he was not very fond of, that he wanted to get rid of. He tried doing this, he tried creating a Doge department, and he gets. Another thing that makes me believe this inner circle was constantly working against Charlie was because of the fact that he had a whole entire branch of Turning Point that he had no idea about, and that was the stock market branch. Now, the thing about this branch is it's been getting millions.
He alleges that Charlie had no idea about it. I find that kind of hard to believe. Like, he seems to be referring, based on the numbers that he's about to say, he seems to be referring directly to the TPUSA endowment, which was a whole business that has been coming up in these audits of Turning Point, which are extremely suspicious, and they're not even nearly complete yet. So I do find it a little hard to believe that Charlie didn't know, but I'm not in Turning Point, so.
Millions of dollars poured into it over the past 4 years now, and that's been seen through their latest tax returns, which were also filed late, which was weird, but that's not a topic for another time. This stock market group that Turning Point has been throwing millions of dollars into the stock market for the past 4 years now, and Charlie Kirk had no knowledge of that whatsoever. Now, if you also look into it a little bit deeper, if you look at the staff.
So someone in the chat is saying it's really hard to believe him. I assume you're judging him based on his looks a little bit. You know, whatever. When he's speaking about what Charlie knew, I don't exactly believe him either, because inherently, how would he know what Charlie did and didn't know and didn't think and didn't want? But when he's speaking about his own experiences,
on that branch specifically, it says 0. It says there's nobody.
And he goes into the numbers on the actual filings for TPUSA endowment, which he is very correct about, that they're paying a shitload to no employees. And if you want to go to his Instagram account, you can see his own photos from his time at TPUSA. I can't corroborate what he says. I cannot corroborate his claims, obviously. He's just a whistleblower. Make up your own mind. We've had a lot of them by now. Quite a number of them. And I will remind you again that this is a pattern amongst Con Inc. organizations. This is a pattern amongst all these propped up massive conservative organizations. Amongst pretty much every single one of them. And if you've ever been to a Turning Point event, this would not be surprising. If you'd ever looked into the donor structure of TPUSA specifically, or of any of these Con Inc. organizations, this would not be surprising to you. You think they're going to be pouring millions and millions and millions and millions of dollars into this thing and not try to exert influence in all the ways that they know and love to do? And that's not to say that every donor is a Zionist. There's a lot of donors that are not. And I shared some stuff from some of them earlier today. But use your brain. Use a little pattern recognition. Do a little noticing, you might say, to borrow a phrase. And so it's good to know that finally Kash Patel has noticed that the number one podcast in the world has directly alleged and contacted his office and the White House and others of a threat on her life. Thank you, Megyn Kelly, for bringing it to his attention. I'm sure that it's in good hands now.
There's been an allegation made by prominent podcaster Candace Owens that she's received a death threat, a credible death threat from the French, that a threat has been made on her life, and that the French, she's been told, also may have had a role in Charlie's assassination. Have you looked into either of those? Do you believe she's received a credible death threat from the French, or that the French had something potentially to do with Charlie's death?
Any American that receives a death threat from overseas or anywhere in America is going to be fully investigated. So we're not going to turn our eye away.
You should go check the comments for all of the people that have been posting about how they got doxxed, they got swatted, they got harassed, they got attacked, and they received nothing. In fact, you could go to Nick Fuentes and ask whatever happened with the guy that showed up at his house with a bunch of guns. Well, the guy's dead, but I'm not sure Nick felt super great about how that was handled either.
Away from that investigation or any others. If there's anything to it, this FBI will respond to it.
Okay, but so far, no.
We are just looking at everything that comes in. We're not going to reject any piece of information. If someone feels that their life is being threatened.
Notice how he didn't say we're not going to comment on an ongoing investigation. Notice how he didn't say the phrase. He didn't say the thing that all the protected people get. He said the other thing. So, noted. Noted, Cash. We'll be sure to profess our love for Israel and go kiss the wall before we get death threats next time. Sorry for our confusion on the order of operations for the American justice system. We'll do better. Yeah. So, we didn't really get to the state of Candace's investigation. That's a wide topic, and I'm sure you've been following along. And right now, it's a bunch of back and forth with TPUSA about a live stream podcast that can't be live streamed by Candace, that she has to be there in person with the people that are very good at protecting their protectees. Yeah. It's a mess. It's a shit show. And, you know, the usual suspects on the one side, the usual suspects on the other side. And, of course, Nick winding up on the other side. Again. And it makes me sad. It makes me sad. But we'll leave all that for another day. For now, that's going to be our show. We're going to close it out, and we'll do super chats on the other side of the outro. But it's important to remember that in dark times, it's important that you are the light, that you take good care of yourself. You are the nation. If you're an American or if you're somewhere else around the world, your nation is built of people just like you. And if you're not doing your best, your nation isn't going to be doing great either. So be sure to drink water, eat healthy food, go to the gym, get some exercise, build relationships, love your family, build a strong community. And from that, we will all help fix our nation from the ground up, because clearly all these assholes ain't doing shit for it. In fact, they're working as hard as they can to stop us from doing that. So I guess it's on us. I guess it's on you. It's on me. It's on all of us together. Take good care of yourself. Tell someone you love them. And we'll see you next time.
Conspiracy theories are entering a information is the oxygen of the democracy.
There's so much evidence out there that even if less than 1% is true, that would be enough to collapse the current paradigm and change the whole planet.
Oh boy, guys, my camera is massive. Give me 1 minute to fix things. Yeah, your boy fixed his cameras and made them big and nice looking, and now they're real big. So this is why we do an outro first. And we're going to pull up some supers. We're going to hang out with the super chats here for a minute and see what the homies have to say. See how the homies are doing. Oh, interesting. Interesting. I'm going to have to build a new super chat window here on the fly because mine is gone from my window because it's so big. Cool. Well, let me put some tunes on for us, and then we will get to building, and we'll be right with you. In the meantime, chat, I see you. Homies, I see you. Let me just add... Let me add an infinite mirror for you. If you don't know how YouTube works, you get an inside look at how YouTube works. Whoa, I just looked at that. Holy moly, radical rat. Dang, homie. That is a vibe. That is a major vibe, homie. Wow, that is extremely generous. Thank you. Thank you. Holy moly. So, once again, we're going to go from the top down, highest to lowest, and we'll hopefully get through most of them. But once we get to the bottom, we might have to skip through and just kind of take a bunch of randoms from the bottom. You know, I would be remiss. I would be remiss not to drop an ad on you guys. I would be remiss not to drop an ad on you guys. Let me do an ad read real quick, because I got an ad to read for you. Oh boy. Someone in the chat is asking about the Buyer app. And if you don't know, me and my boys, it's a team of 3 of us, with no outside investment, no donors, no money, no strings attached, just us. We have built an app that'll allow you to use your humble little cell phone to scan any product in the grocery store that has a barcode and find out who owns it, so that you can figure out who you're really buying things from and where the money is really going. Because you're buying Burt's Bees and you don't realize that actually Burt's was bought out by Clorox, and actually you're paying a giant mega corporation that makes bleach, and actually Clorox is owned by BlackRock, Vanguard, State Street, and all the big banks. And so actually your money is just paying all the banking cabal. You're trying to buy healthy food for your kids and you think Annie's, that's a healthy option. Nope. That's owned by General Mills, mega corporation owned by the same banking cabal, and your money just flows right up to the top. You got Energizers, the battery company selling you tampons. You got all sorts of suspicious stuff in these aisles. You got poison in your baby food. It's a travesty. And this is where I came from. This is how I actually started my platform in the first place. This is how I grew so fast, was by exposing these things that are in all of our lives and making spreadsheets. And I met up with some homies that were builders of apps, and the app is finally live. Halfway. Because Apple is being kind of a bitch. And so let me give you the scoop real quick. Well, I'll read a little ad for you. From yours truly. Not a paid promotion, because your boy owns it outright. Technically, I own 1/3 of it because there's 3 of us. Let me just find the right screen here. And let me pull Buyer in for us. Shop smarter with Buyer, baby. And it is officially available on the Google Play Store right now. You can go to the Google Play Store if you're on Android and download it. Because Google approved it. We put it in for submission for both Google and Apple, and Google approved it and just put it live. And we couldn't even take it down. So it's party time. So you're in on the limited first launch of Buyer app if you're on Android. And if you're on Apple, I'm truly sorry, but we are waiting on Apple to figure out some really elementary things. Honestly, I'll probably do a live stream about it this weekend, about just how elementary Apple's concerns are. that are very, very weird. And we've been going back and forth with them for like 3 days now about like 4th grade level shit that makes no sense. But I'm not here to complain about it. I'm just here to tell you that if you want to know who actually is selling you all the stuff in your grocery store with a scan of a button, plus a whole bunch of other stuff, like it's got the nutrition stuff, it's got a bunch of other features that are coming to you soon in the next month or two, you can go get it on the Google Play Store. And if you do install it, we would really appreciate it if you'd leave us a 5-star review, assuming that you like it, and tell us what you think. And if you have any issues with it at all, seeing as it is brand new, there's a link right here to the Discord community that is full of all of the beta testers. We had hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people beta test this thing, and we had thousands. We had like 60,000 people sign up for the beta test, and they're in there in the Discord, and they're already experts, and they're there to help, and we are also in there in the Discord, ready to help solve your problems and take suggestions and take recommendations for what you do like, what you don't like, what you wish was there, etc., etc., etc. So it's here for you. It's there for the people. There's a free version and there's a $5 paywall in some of the features in order to pay the bills behind the scenes and to grow the app over time. So go and get it, enjoy it, use it, and maybe you can make slightly more informed purchasing decisions with your money. And if you want to boycott someone, you can boycott them. And if you want to just focus on health, you can do that. And if you want to support family-owned businesses just for the sake of supporting your own family-owned, your own local community or the greater family-owned business network in America or wherever you are, because it does work anywhere in the world, you can do that too. We aren't there to tell you opinions. There's no ads in the app. Nothing is sold. There's no product placement. We don't take any money from any of the brands, whether they're family-owned or corporate. Nothing. It is all just information, raw, unfiltered, exactly as it appears. And that's our promise to you. That's my promise to you. We will never take any paid posts on it. We will never be putting things in your face because someone paid for that post to be in your face. Because then it wouldn't really fucking work, would it? So that's the Buyer app. Thanks to the homie in the chat that asked about it. I appreciate that you're stoked. I'm stoked. I'll be extra stoked when Apple is stoked because I am an Apple user, but I have the secret first Ultra version, so I do actually have it on my phone right now, and it's the bomb. Have fun. Now, let's get to some supers. Let me just lock some things in place. Hey, Ian. Sup, my Doge? Huge fan, truth seeker, and fellow believer in Jesus. Been deep diving into the historical Jesus and his teachings versus belief today. They are very different on topics like salvation and the Trinity. Dr. James Tabor and Blogging Theology on YouTube do great work on it. It's worth checking out. Word. I appreciate the suggestions because it is a convoluted space, and being a new Christian, this book is a lot to get through. It's a lot to understand. And there's a lot of, shall we say, grifters in the space that would mislead you. I'm not going to say which space they're in. It's a Judeo-Christian space. Thanks, man. Appreciate it, Radical Rat. Thanks for the 300. Thanks for the huge support. And thanks for speaking good word. Thanks for being a truth and a light in America or wherever it is you are. I think you're in America. Hey, Baron's in the chat, dropping the 100, finally getting it back. Baron figured out how to send a super, and we love you for it, Baron. I think that Baron Coleman, at Real Baron Coleman, or at Baron Coleman Podcast, Real Baron Podcast, I'm not sure which one it is on YouTube. I think that Baron is the #1 top new creator on YouTube of 2025. Call me crazy, but I think that Baron has a long future with us, and he's so cool to watch. I try to catch every Baron show that I possibly can. Ian, making Friday great again. You're damn straight. Because you know our government won't do it for us. So we're here to party. Thanks, Baron. Appreciate the support. Appreciate all the great content. Zachary Loft dropping in with a 50. All love, brother. Never stop fighting the good fight. Thanks, Zachary. Appreciate the support. And I won't. I will not stop fighting the good fight. Mickey, Thanks for the 50. Candace's father owned a property management company from 2011 to 2013, which was responsible for security, maintenance, and janitorial services at SH Elementary School in Newton, Connecticut. I didn't know that. Responsible for security, maintenance, and janitorial services at SH Elementary School in Newton, Connecticut. Seems legit. I don't know as that would transfer to her knowing about the security of that, but I'm sure she knows a lot about security just from her own life. Lindsay Guilfoyle. Thanks for the dono. Thank you a million times. Nick buying the slop wholesale, mellowing his stances ostensibly to become more palatable for the mainstream makes it really hard to trust his intellectual integrity, and it's quite honestly breaking my heart. You know, from being inside the industry, I would hesitate to say that Nick is Nick is kind of making his stances palatable for the mainstream in some ways, but I don't hold that against him at face value. It's the Israel thing right now specifically, and the places he's going to say these things, and it's that specifically that's so weird. At this specific moment is weird. But I understand, like, having your moment to rise and thinking carefully as an older man than when you were younger, and thinking, like, how am I going to present myself to the whole world? Okay? Because when I first went on Joe Rogan, I thought very carefully about how I worded things, just because you can't take it back, and because it's so easy when you're new to a new audience. It's so easy to be misunderstood. And so you just inherently should think more carefully about what you're going to say than when you're like hanging out with your people on a Friday night having Free Speech Friday. So I don't inherently hold it against him, but I totally feel your sentiment. And specifically at this moment on the Israel issue, when all of America is waking up and all of America is rallying around this one turning point, so to speak, that's what is it's hard for me to wrap my head around. Michael, thanks for the dono. Ian, you are the man. Why does anyone believe the official narrative for anything any longer? Who are the actual Semites? What does Semite mean? And who qualifies? Hey, I'm not going to get into who's a Semite. I think we all know who's a Semite. And let's be real, no one has a monopoly on Semitism. There's a few different groups over there that are all the Semitisms. And as far as I can tell, there's an awful lot of anti-Semitism to go around, and it's not just of the variety we're being spewed at about. So yeah, I appreciate it, Michael. Thanks for the support. Cassie A, thanks for the big donation. I've learned so much watching you and so many others this year. Thank you for all you do and reminding me to question everything and critically think. Critically think for yourself. I am not an authority on truth. I am not some fabulous mind. I'm not some like autistic spurg that knows everything. I get lots of things wrong. I'm just doing my best to learn, and I'm doing my best to show the process of learning, particularly on Twitch, where I live stream the research a lot of days, like most days of the week. And I do that intentionally, despite it showing the holes in my game, despite it showing off what I do or don't know, despite it showing me getting things wrong live, because it's important to demonstrate the inquisitive process of asking questions, looking for answers, and trying to sift through all the bullshit to figure out what's real. So yeah, stay curious, keep learning, and always think for yourself, because especially as we enter the AI era, it's going to be harder and harder to know who to trust. And I trust me, but you shouldn't just inherently trust me, okay? You should trust yourself and God. Ian, fan of you. I want to tell you about the Pashtun of Afghanistan, Taliban tribe. There are reports that they are the 10 lost tribes of Israel. Israel sent envoys to ask them to convert back to Judaism to allow them back. Interesting. I don't know anything about that, and I don't know how I would even... Interesting. I do get really interested in all of the sort of convoluted... I wouldn't even call it conspiracy theories, just convoluted arguments over ancient history in the Levant, in the Middle East, in the ancient European, Asian, and all those continents there, the African continent. Thanks for the donation and thanks for the support. Mex. Oh, sorry, I'm scrolling too far. Homie, I see Chaos on your bookshelf, which was totally a game changer read for me. I've read One Nation Under Blackmail. What other book recommendations can you suggest? Yeah, they are on the bookshelf right there. Both volumes of One Nation Under Blackmail are right next to Chaos. And honestly, they're falling over. They're falling over. I got to get some book stops. I'm going to give you 3 different suggestions. Hopefully at least 1 or 2 that you have not been suggested a million times before. The one on the topics that we're all thinking of, I might suggest is Legacy of Ashes, A History of the CIA. It's big, but it's a really fun read. And it is, I primarily suggest it not because it's going to like expose any specific like deep state thing, or it's going to, but because it's primary sourced from like actual, like one of the best digs into the primary source documentation of the actual history of the CIA that has ever been compiled, from presidential minutes to secret cables to leaked documents to everything that's in the like mainstream public record, which is a lot more than you might realize. And it exposes a lot of the incompetence of the American CIA, and then with a little bit of thinking and kind of other expertise, you can fill in the gaps in his understanding or in his narrative with what filled those voids in the CIA, what filled those incompetence, what filled the underside of the lies that they were telling. And he doesn't, he's not going to be based on 9/11. He's not going to tell you a bunch about Mossad, maybe a little bit. But in telling you about the CIA, you learn so much about the actual undercurrents of how intelligence agencies work, how everything gets put together, and how the intelligence apparatus was actually built by humans, and how their fallibility left the door wide open to darker, more competent, evil actors. And the more you read other reporting that's not in there, the more it starts to fill the picture out into a more and more rich understanding. And one really interesting, barely known at all book that comes from one of my earliest, most bizarre digs is called Dirty Laundry. And it's How I Stole Billions in CIA Drug Money Almost. And I really don't know how to summarize this book other than to say that there are live streams on this YouTube channel from way back in the day, some of the first videos I ever did, digging through the document caches that are contained in the back of this book in print form. But you can also find them on archive.org, and I'll show you where to find them in that live stream that I was telling you about that you can go find on my channel. And it's a trip. And it'll teach you about the heroin smuggling operations in Vietnam, Laos, Cambodia. It'll teach you about how George H.W. Bush got involved with the CIA. It'll teach you about allegedly how the CIA set up their black budget bank accounts to fund all of their secret operations around the globe. And you're going to have to be the judge for yourself of the veracity of this tale. But I will say that I've done a lot of sourcing on this to try to figure out if this is fucking real or not. And I kind of suspect that it mostly is. And lastly, totally other direction, one of the most fun and fascinating books to read is The Secret Life of Groceries by Benjamin Lohr. This book will change how you see everything in your daily life. You will never eat a shrimp the same way again after you read this book. You will never look at a truck driver the same way again. You'll have a whole different understanding of Trader Joe's and Whole Foods. You'll have a whole different relationship with your groceries and grocery stores. And this book is integral to why and how we built the buyer app the way we built it, because there's so much more beneath the groceries that you buy on the shelf than you could ever realize. And Benjamin somehow encapsulates it into one of the most riveting reads I've ever read. I stayed up all night long, 2 nights in a row to finish this book all in one go. And then I read it again and again another half time. And then again when I did an entire series of pieces on it throughout my time on Candace. So highly recommend. Thanks for asking me to do some book recommends. Always love doing that. Mex, that's yours. Appreciate it. 303. Thanks for the dono. Please research trends for 5 minutes. Trends are not searches. They represent the entirety of the data economy, including linked metadata, which was never searched. Humans aren't even involved in the majority of hits. Continued. Location is routing, not a search area. A snapshot is taken every 24 hours. Nothing is wiped. Even Google devs don't have access to 100 trillion searches. Barron knows this. Others just need to research literally 3 minutes. I'll look into it. I have seen screen recordings of trends being wiped. I have seen Barron reading through Google's own documentation about the trends. But certainly the trends don't prove specifically this or specifically that. My understanding of them is that they are more general than some people would like them to be. But I would very much hesitate to say they mean nothing. But I'll look into it. I'd be curious, too, how you came to know this. Nightbot Rex. GM. Thanks, homie. Appreciate it. GN. It's almost 11 over here. Chat's a effing Fed. Oh, we got all kinds of Feds in the chat. It's all good. Say hi to your local Fed. I ain't got no problem with Feds in the game. There's Feds out here in my industry. There's Feds in the chat. There's Feds in the streets. There's Feds in the stores. There's Feds all over the place. Just say hi and be nice and invite them in to play a game with you. Because they're going to be here playing the game either way. And the thing about this game on the internet is we're all playing on the same board by the same rules. And usually, in my experience, the Feds aren't as good at the game as us. So it's kind of fun to play with the Feds. Isn't that right, Jack? I'm just kidding. AK Steve. Ian. Have you and Candace Owens undergone full security vetting for this project? Just wanting clarity on safeguards moving forward. This project. I'm not really sure what you mean. And no, I've not undergone full security vetting, whatever that means. I don't know what that means. Like, I have a concealed carry license, so I've undergone that security vetting process. I don't know what clarity you're looking for, bro, but I don't think I provided any. The Founders Press. I think Nick is just bent out of shape. He had a plan to be the biggest story of the year, and Charlie and Candace are getting in his way, and he is pouting. Great show, Ian. Yeah, I don't know, man. I don't know, but whatever it is, I'm bummed about it. I've always been of the belief that being humble and being kind and always turning the spotlight on other people is always the best policy. There's this thing that goes all the way back to when I was an improv theater teacher when I was like in middle school and high school. It's the 3 rules of improv. And the first one, the way I read them, is make the other person look good. If you're on a stage and everyone is making shit up and just trying to be the center of attention, the scene is going to fucking suck. And this is true for life. This is true at a party. This is true on a date. This is true in a job interview. This is true at work. This is true on the internet. Make the other person look good. Everyone will notice. Everyone will notice when you're kind, when you're trying to help other people shine, when you're trying to give everyone else their time. They'll notice. Even if you never get to talk, they'll notice. Every time Ian says, bro, y'all need to take a drink. It's the new generational drinking game. I'll be drunk way sooner than I ever expected tonight. Thanks for the stream. Yay, thanks, bro. Appreciate it, bro. You're welcome, bro. Appreciate you having you here, bro. Thanks for the support, bro. Yolanda Colby. Ian, would you go with Candace to the TPUSA? What would you ask? Yes, please tell us about the buyer app. We've been waiting, brother. Thanks for asking about the buyer app. I mean, I would go with Candace to the TPUSA if I was asked to, but that wouldn't happen. There would be no reason for me to go. I was considering going and putting up a wall out front and asking people to kiss it and having conversations about our greatest ally out front. But realistically, I just didn't want to deal with the logistics on such short notice. And it's been kind of a crazy last month for me. Moving around, I'm just kind of over moving around all the time. I like hanging out here with the homies doing this. And what would I ask? I don't have time to go over all that right now. That would be an entire other live stream. And realistically, you could just watch my YouTube channel and you'd see what I would ask. So thank you for the support. And thank you for thinking of Candace. Keep her in your prayers. Bruce Leroy, thank you. 3 or 4 years ago, Al Jazeera made a documentary about Israel's effort to control the narrative and the narrative worldwide. They have operatives worldwide from high school students to the elderly and spend over $1 billion a year. The Israeli effort to control the minds of the masses is the largest propaganda campaign the world has ever known. And fortunately, one of the first introductions that I ever had, to the issue was a documentary on Rumble called The Occupation of the American Mind. The Occupation of the American Mind on Rumble. It's a free documentary, and it is so informative about what happens in the information space around the Israel conversation. And it's told by some of the most qualified journalists, Jewish people, and media personalities, whistleblowers, figures like ex-AIPAC people, all people that are in it and know it. It is incredibly well done, and it speaks to exactly what you're referring to. I don't think it's this one you're talking about. I don't think it's made by Al Jazeera, but maybe it is. I don't know. Fuentes has been drinking his own Kool-Aid lately. Seems like he's selling out to the mainstream lately to get into the political gambit. Hey, I don't know. Nick does kind of seem to drink his own Kool-Aid a little bit, but at the same time, it's like, I get it. I've got a lot of grace for that. I've got a lot of grace for the bit that Nick plays. I kind of like the bit that Nick plays a little bit. His sort of like larger than life in the chair, sitting with the mug, like going on his fucking epic rants. I've got a lot of grace for it. And I genuinely really do enjoy watching his show, especially on nights when he's really on a tear or when the topic is really topical. And I feel like we're missing out on just night after night of generational run right now that could be happening if he would just look at what's actually going on. But I'm not Nick, and his show is his, and he's going to do what he wants to do. But I already said it. Curious Joel, thanks for the 20. I start to doubt Nick's authenticity when he says he believes Tyler Robinson killed Charlie Kirk. It feels like a Trump-like trap. Say the controversial, right things about Israel now, get support, get some power, then flip. I don't trust him. I don't really trust anyone. And I don't know as you should either. I just think for myself, and I listen to everyone. And that way, when someone goes off of their own script, when someone changes, when someone is just being weird, it's way easier to notice because you're not bought into the hype. And I've made this mistake plenty of times in public with my platform before, buying into the hype. I bought into the RFK hype. I bought into the Trump hype for a little bit there. I bought into the coalition hype. And I knew that maybe we'll get disappointed, but at the same time, I wanted to hope that maybe like getting all these fucking apparently based people in will be the change we needed. Nick saw through that, apparently. Like, Nick called that out. Kudos to Nick. I was not wise enough to know yet. And so lesson learned. But yeah, then the other side comes back around now and it's like, what's going on? Like, what's going on? B-Hub, I hope someone would go hard for me the way Candace has gone for Charlie. Right, wrong, or indifferent, her loyalty has earned my respect. You're damn straight. You're damn straight. That's a real friend right there. And everyone trying to flip that into something else, it's spin. It's all spin. It's obviously spin. And that's why she's the #1 podcast in the world right now, among many other reasons. Because every rational person can see that that is a real friend right there. And all these other fucking grifters, most of them hated Charlie. Most of them were using Charlie, manipulating Charlie, talking shit about Charlie, trying to undermine Charlie. I mean, I was talking shit about Charlie. But about his positions. And I had nothing to do with Turning Point USA. But Candace, no one really knows Charlie like Candace does. And that's just a fact. And Charlie himself even said that TPUSA is going to be the death of him, and Candace is going to be his David. Candace is going to finish the job. He said that himself. So, don't worry, Mickey. I will scroll back up for your $100 super chat. I appreciate the $20 super chat. I see you. Don't worry. At the end, I'll scroll back up and get all the big ones at the top. Thank you. Kyle Luz Rex. Just Google Nick Fuentes Catboy. That's all you need to know. Fed. Also, him and Crowder are a perfect match to closeted homies. One dresses like a lady. Whenever he gets the chance. I have seen the Catboy pics. I've seen a lot of the dirt that floats around on the internet and a lot of the accusations, and I know. I watch. I pay attention. I'm also generally quite hesitant to presume to know someone's entire past based upon a snapshot on the internet, just because I know that people are messy and I know that it's hard to know someone else's life. It's complex, but it's good to arm yourself with information and to look things up and to investigate things and to look at both sides of every issue. And with Crowder, it's like, oof, yeah, if you don't know about Crowder's dress up skills and about the fun games he likes to play with his crew, the rumors that go around, the kinds of things his wife has said about him, his ex-wife, yeah, there's a whole lot there. Barada. Desensitizing is a crazy tactic. Glad to see the people are waking up from the Matrix. Timmy Taint and Nick Ashill have bought into the Kabbalah Zionist Club. Keep it rad as usual. I mean, let's be real. I don't think that Nick has bought into the Kabbalah Zionist Club, but he is currently shilling the same schlop that the Kabbalah Zionist Club is feeding. So it's a little uncomfortable. But yeah, wake up from the Matrix. Ask the questions. Question the messengers, including me. Think for yourself. Do your own research. Come to your own fucking conclusions. And if I ever start saying like, well, I think that it's like, oh, like I fucking love Israel, which I know Nick is not saying, but like you fucking press unsubscribe so damn fast, homie, you get the hell out of there. Okay? Deal? Hey, once again, thanks for a double. Maybe it's my little scanner that got the double. Appreciate it. Mickey, scroll back up to your 100. I got you. Don't worry, I will. Dr. Halo, thanks for backing / supporting and helping Candace, Tucker, Attorney Baron Coleman, Coach Colin, etc. You're damn straight. I will always have Candace's back, and I've said this many times. I will always have Candace's back, even when she, fails or fucks up. I mean, I'll still tell the truth, but I will still also always have her back as a friend. I'll always be in her debt, and beyond the professional relationship that we've had, she's just a nice person. Her and George and their whole team have just been so kind to me, and they're such great people that, like, I will always appreciate them and be their friend. And then people like Tucker, Baron Coleman, Coach Colin, I just love, especially like Tucker's a giant in the industry. We're ants next to Tucker, but Tucker's a very kind person too, in my limited experience, and I love being able to help other creators that are smaller than my account are, like Baron Coleman and Coach Colin and other people coming up. I love being able to support people, help them out, shine a spotlight on awesome people that are working hard to expose things. And people like Baron and Coach Colin are doing better reporting than me most days. They're doing more reporting than me most days. They're incredible. And if you wanted to follow along with Charlie Kirk's story, you'd be better off following Coach Colin than me. Because Coach Colin is on every single story every day. He's killing it. Coach Colin's the man. I can't believe I didn't find him earlier on in the story. I've only had him on my list for like the last month or so. Total legend. Shout out to Coach Colin. If you're out there, huge shout out. Hey, you too, Baron. You too. You already know how I feel. Mira Raju, 1111. Thanks for the 1111. Ooh, number one twice right there. I appreciate you, Ian. I've been trying to get this link to you and Candace for months, but it blocks the link. There's a series called EU Rope. Oh, don't worry. We know about your rope of the last battle, homie. Don't worry. We know. We've seen it. Yeah, we've seen it. I've seen the BitChute version. I've seen the other version. I've even seen almost all of the BitChute version, but not quite all of it. I talk about this a lot behind the scenes. The reason why I often don't talk about the contents of a documentary like Europa is because it's diving into history. A lot of it dives into history. Not all of it, but there's a lot of it that dives into this like more ancient kind of Khazarian history and Jewish history that is like, I'm never going to have the credentials to truly corroborate it. I would have to become a scholar on ancient texts just to genuinely be able to be an authority on that level of depth, of that level of obscured history. Some of the World War II stuff is very fascinating and very worth the time to learn, and I very much have learned it. And then I try to corroborate it myself and research it for myself. What can I double check for myself? And I find that fascinating, and it is very interesting. But that being said, trust me, we've all seen Europa. Even the ones that don't talk about it, they've seen Europa too. Tobias Magnus, 6835. Love your new app and would love to buy the upgrade, but it isn't available to de-Googled Android. Please look into why anyone should use de-Googled phones only. Braxman is a good start. I'll tell my nerd bro about this. I don't know exactly what this means, but that's a good idea. It sounds like you're freedom-minded. And, you got to give us a little bit of grace because we are not. So the thing is that most of the apps that you're purchasing and downloading and all that, most of those apps are being developed by big money. Most of them are being funded by venture capital and private equity and, big money. And they've got whole teams that are like app launching teams. Not all of them, but a lot of them. This one is just us putting out this product for all of you to use. And it's the first app we've ever brought to market. So there's a lot of little kinks that we're sorting out. There's a lot of things we're learning. And I'm sure that that's something that we can try to figure out how to do. Thanks for bringing it to our attention. Appreciate it. You seem cool. And that's totally the kind of thing that we would look to do. But first, let us just get it on Apple too, and then we'll deal with all the cool shit. Then we'll start bringing out the upgrades, all the new features, which are going to be dope. I genuinely can't wait to start talking about the features that are already in the pipeline for like a month from now, 2 months from now. They're going to be sick. I'm curious if you've ever researched John Carroll, the Jesuit who left Europe to come to America to establish the United States in the late 1700s. I don't care if you're related, just curious. No, I never have researched. That'd be very interesting if I was related. I mean, the Carroll side of my family is from the East Coast generally. I don't really know anything about that lineage other than that my immediate grandparents were Quakers. I kind of doubt it, to be honest, but that's cool. I am really interested in the establishment of this nation and in all of the interesting, like, Jesuit, Freemason, European royalty, like all these conspiracy theories and religious things that happened around the founding of the country is fascinating. So, thanks for the dono. We're getting pretty close to 11 o'clock here. I'm going to read these ones that are on screen down to Ward and Weird, and then we're going to do a couple of scrolls and pick up some of the lower ones down after that. Heard Stirred. Thanks for the dono. Appreciate it. I think Nick got scared. You, Candace, and Baron are the only ones I still trust these days. Thank you for what you do. It's inspiring. I don't know as Nick got scared. Maybe. Like, I don't know. I don't know what happened. But I do wish he was here on the team doing the work. I got bumped. And I do trust myself, Candace and Baron as well. As much as I could kind of trust anyone, those people are pretty high on the frickin' list. Yeah, I appreciate it. Thanks for the support. Joey Bright, 1456. Thank you, Ian. You call out these slime bags. And what about that creepy incel, Blake Neff? Yeah. We know he was fired in 2017 from Tucker's show for being busted as a total racist who also harassed women. Yeah, not like racist like, haha, that's funny. Like racist like, oof, dude, that is like a lot, dude. Like Blake Neff is way more racist than Nick Fuentes. Way more racist than Nick Fuentes. It's dark. You can look it up. Just look up Blake Neff fired Tucker Carlson show. Or Blake Neff fired racist. Whatever it is. Just look up Blake Neff. Do a little learning. It's crazy out there. Yeah. Yeah, fuck that guy. Kay's Corner Farm Chaos. Ian, thank you so much for sharing and spreading the knowledge. If y'all need help, I can always help and would love to. I sent you and Candace an email. Much love and prayers. Keep it up. Y'all are awesome. Appreciate it. I really appreciate the support and thanks for the offer. In general, I'm at the point where I'm in such flow and trying to like bring other people in to help is honestly would just take more time than me just doing my thing. So in general, I'm not growing my team at all unless it's like the universe puts someone into my life and into my path that is just like, oh, you're here because you're supposed to be a part of my team. And my team is basically tiny. It's basically like 3 people right now. It's basically the buyer team. Plus I've got like some friends that I'm working on a documentary with, and I've got, do I have any other teams? That's pretty much it. I hope I'm not forgetting anybody, but that's pretty much it. But I keep a small crew so I can be light, nimble, fast, and free. And no strings attached. No strings attached. No ad reads. Just yours truly. Because I can. Because fuck it. Why not? Mama Lucy, thank you for your truth. Keep it real. Appreciate it, Mama Lucy. Thank you for your truth. Thanks for the all caps. Appreciate it. And Warden Weird, 3-letter agent, glow so bright. Yeah. Yeah. Sometimes they do. Sometimes they're sly though. You know, you gotta keep your mind open to everyone, even your favorite people. You should just, always be skeptical and ask questions of everything. And just trust yourself and God. Thanks for the donation. Real quick, this comment right here. Mr. Arvim, who specializes in disguising themselves. By the way, Nick is probably a plant, i.e. control opposition. I don't know, but I'm curious about this Mr. Arvim phrase. I know about the Sayanim or the Sayahim or whatever the other one is. It's very close to a phrase from Dune, actually. Yeah. But we're going to do a quick couple scrolls down to get to the bottom. We're going to catch some of the smaller ones, and then we will scroll back up and catch any big ones that came back in after the end. Sorry, I should stop. Big League Drew, thank you. Throwing a lot of shade right now. I think you should just talk to him personally because you should like Hictaboo, because you sound like a HCTIB right now. I don't know what that means, but if I was trying to critique Nick on like something personal between us, you'd be totally right. If I was trying to air out our dirty laundry, which there isn't any, you'd be totally right. I have reached out to Nick in person, like in private before. I've met him once in person, and I do genuinely like the guy. Like I like what he does. I like a lot of his content. I don't like all of it, but I like a lot of it. But and I'm just genuinely, this is how I feel about it right now. And we are public figures in the public square, and Nick is a big kid. He's fine. He's perfectly strong-skinned. I'm sure he can deal with a little bit of criticism, and if he takes offense at it, that's fine too. I don't hold that against him. I feel like this is his time to shine, and I miss him here on the battlefield. And it's kind of like if you can't take the heat, don't come into the kitchen. It's not like I'm airing out his text messages. But if that's how you feel about how I sound, that's cool. That's fine. Big League Drew, y'all are in a sociopathic parasocial relationship. This is the same guy again, I think. This is crazy if y'all are real people. QQ more. This is the nature of the industry. Deal with it. Get off your phone. Go touch grass. That's fine. You can do that. The reality is that media figures matter. Politics matters. What's happening in America matters. And for better or for worse, this is it. This is the world we live in. It's 2025. But you can unplug. You don't have to be here. Thanks for being here, though. Thanks for the dono. Appreciate it. Nothing worse than a hater like Nick. He can't take it when someone is doing better than him. Nothing more beta than that. I mean, I do think that Nick could be like a little more humble. But also I think the part of it is kind of like a caricature that he plays. And I think that's fine. I have no problem with people playing caricatures and just kind of having a little fun with the game. But Nick is a little negative sometimes. Not the way that I would choose to be, but that's fine. I'm not trying to attack Nick's character. I'm just trying to say that, like, Nick, your character is like the guy for right now, and it's right now, and like you're supposed to be here, bro. Where you at? That's all I'm trying to say. I'm a Fed and I have a small wiener. Hey, found the Fed. What up, Mark Bendy? Shout out to the Fed with the small wiener. It's okay. It's okay. There's someone for everyone. Even for Feds with small wieners. And then I'll take the bottom one. Edgar Lopez. Edgar Lopez. Thanks, homie. Thanks, homie. Tim Pool is not a conservative, lol. He's a lib lame. Yeah, he is not exactly. He's wherever the wind is blowing. All right, let's go back up to the top. Grab any 20s that came in, and then we'll go up to the top. Double dare. Y'all grow up. Nick knows what makes real change. And as far as these streams and videos are on our little internet boxes, they don't have real power. Nick hasn't changed. Nick hasn't changed. He maneuvered to fill the void. Could be. I mean, Nick is a wise person that does understand politics in a very astute way. I won't take that away from you or him. And maybe he's more correct than me about how to go about these things. Personally, I just wouldn't want to. I wouldn't want to go about it that way if it was me, regardless of what it's going to achieve. I think there's a certain amount of compromising that is not worth compromising, if that's what it takes to get to somewhere. But who knows? I don't know what game he's playing. I don't know what he's up to. So we'll see. Z Taylor, cancel Ian Carroll group Bible study when? I have done group Bible studies, not online, not with the public. Probably never. I am never going to speak for Christians. I'm never going to speak for Christ. I'm never going to tell you how to interpret your book. And realistically, most of you would hate how I would interpret Christian teachings and the Bible and the book. If anything, I'm probably actually going to wind up sort of standing just outside the doors of Christianity, telling all the atheists that, like, yo, y'all can come over here and take what you need out of this, out of religion and spirituality. You don't have to, like, become like a full-on whatever the Baptist sect is that's like super intense. You know the ones that got all the shit for being really gnarly. Like, you don't have to, like, a lot of atheists and like science people, they have this sort of like aversion to religion because of a bad experience or because like they have a stigma about religious people. But realistically, I think that when you open your mind up to the real depths of science, I think it brings you right back around to religion. And I think that if you let your mind be a little more open, I think there's an awful lot of people that are currently not on the like God train that should be on the God train, because God is just good. God is goodness. God is truth. God is light. And so I think I'm probably going to wind up being more of an influencer towards that doorway rather than actually trying to stand in the door with the Bible. Because for me, I'm never going to wind up being the type of Christian that's like the standard Christian that like reads the book the way that everyone else does. But I certainly am going to, I'll always speak about how important a relationship with God is and how important having some sort of spiritual, like religious belief that is grounded in something is. And, you know, the historic truth is the historic truth, and you can make of that what you will. So thanks for the dono. Mickey Shaw, thanks for the huge donation. Ian, I can't say it out because the super chat won't let me, but I was talking about that Sandai Ho OK school. Oh yeah, that one. Candace's father was security at the elementary school on the day of the shooting. Whoa, no way. That sounds hard to believe. Are you serious? I'm going to ask her about that. That sounds like the kind of thing that would be like a viral, like Instagram, TikTok reel with like nothing behind it. But at the same time, like stranger things have happened. I'm going to ask her about that. Thanks, Mickey. Cool. That's our show for the night. That's all of our supers. Let's drop back in with the chat for just a minute here. We'll finish our beer. We're mostly on time here. Hey, Alley Files, I see you in the supers up there somewhere. I'm not going to scroll and find it and bring us all back, but thanks for the support, Alley Files. You've been doing awesome work on X. I appreciate it. So, thanks for being here. Thanks for hanging out. Thanks for a great night. Hopefully I didn't go too hard. Whoops. Thanks for being here for Free Speech Friday. It's been a real pleasure. Appreciate your support. Before you go, I would really appreciate if you liked the video, if you hit the subscribe button, if you had any fun. Huge free way for you to support the channel. Thanks for everyone that donated supers. It means a lot. But far more important than supporting me with money is supporting yourself, your family, your community with like actual actions, change, growth. You know, I'm like a broken record, and for good reason, because we are a nation built of Americans. The nation is the people. Okay. And if the people are not pure, if we're not wholesome, if we're not healthy, if we're not happy, if we're not all connected, what even is this nation? So do something nice for someone, eat some good food, do something healthy, and tell people that you love them, build strong connections, build a strong community. And I appreciate you being here, but go do it in real life too. Okay. Do it out in the real life. This is just the internet. And the internet can be pretty fake and pretty gay sometimes. So that's it for tonight. And thanks for being here. And I will see you all on Twitch all week if you want to hang out. And I'll be back here at least next Friday for the next Free Speech Friday.
Conspiracy theories are entering a information is the oxygen of the democracy.
There's so much evidence out there that even if less than 1% is true, that would be enough to collapse the current paradigm